Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Soul Land 2 Part 132 based on novel. So let's start. Just as the black and red clashed, the 12-titled Dolor staggered a few steps back. The Shattered Star Dolor did his best to protect everyone from Shrek Academy from this explosive burst of strength. Let's retreat a little further first. The Shattered Star Dolor shouted. He immediately unleashed his light of shattered stars, which engulfed everyone. After this, he proceeded to a point lower down the mountain with all of them. If they continued to remain here, they would very soon be killed by this clash between two ultimate Dolor. The two of them were simply too strong. The shockwaves from their clash were already very terrifying. The black dragon claws were forced back, but they didn't sustain any harm. Bloody demon puppet. So that's your martial soul. It relies on devouring spirits to evolve. It seems like you haven't just harmed soul beasts, but also many humans. This so-called death god is simply a manifestation of your martial soul. How many avenging spirits do you kill every time you manifest it in this form? Every avenging spirit can only be collected after a live human being is killed. Even soul beasts can't be replenished. However, I don't care if you kill humans. But you've killed too many of my people. I'll use your life to avenge all of them. As he spoke, Hu Yuhao peered into the sky and let out a dragon roar. Following this, he lifted both his hands in the air, his palms facing upward. The space behind him tore apart, and a huge dragon head slowly poked out. Pitch-black dragon flames that carried spots of golden starlight were unleashed towards Yishishui. The surrounding space blew apart just as the dragon flames were unleashed. The blood-red light was torn apart, and the entire mountain started to distort. A terrifying force tore apart the spatial barriers and bore down on Yishishui as if it were a great river. The bloody demon puppet behind Yishishui shone brightly. Her own body also turned into a streak of red light that fused into the back of the bloody demon puppet as her seventh soul ring shone. The bloody demon puppet expanded as it moved through the air. Rings of red light forcefully resisted the onslaught of the dragon roars. Intense explosions started to ensue, and the entire mountain started to compress downward because of their terrifying strength. The Death God Pagoda finally moved. It was shaking slightly. Beast God, Di Qian. So it's you. Yishishui's sharp voice sounded. Evidently, she couldn't believe that the beast god had actually appeared here and was helping the Star Luo Empire. The beast god calmly said, "That's right, it's me. You can kill everyone else, but you can't kill this person I'm protecting. Moreover, what's the benefit of letting the Sun Moon Empire rule the entire continent?" Yishishui snorted coldly, "That's right. You're indeed very strong, and can curb my abilities. However, don't forget that you're not in your true form right now. If you possess this little fellow for too long, he might be unable to take it." It was a pity that all the titled Dolor had already retreated. Otherwise, they would be shocked beyond words if they heard Yishishui admitting that she wasn't Di Qian's match. It was the truth. The last time Di Qian had commanded his soul beast army to attack Shrek City, Elder Mu and Elder Xian had banded together to overcome him. Elder Mu had even planned everything very early, which aided them in curbing Di Qian. Even so, Hu Yuhao was the one who convinced Di Qian in the end. Otherwise, Shrek City would have been destroyed. He had a cultivation that was greater than 800,000 years, and had broken through 8 bottlenecks. He was already 1 foot into another tier. Even Yishishui had to admit that he was terrifyingly strong. "How do you know that I can't summon my true form? How is it possible for a mere human like you to comprehend things at my level?" As he spoke, Hu Yuhao pointed his right hand towards the sky and his left hand towards the ground. A pitch-black beam of light quickly joined between his left and right index fingers. Black light tore space apart, and a figure slowly walked out from the slit that opened. Suddenly, the black dragon head behind Hu Yuhao turned real, and the strength of the dragon flames increased significantly. You can actually break apart space and teleport your true body?" "This is impossible," Yishishui exclaimed, but she stopped resisting. Instead, she turned into a beam of red light and instantly charged towards the Death God Pagoda. The Death God Pagoda shone extremely brightly. Countless avenging spirits could be heard whining. A beam of red light that Hu Yuhao had seen before descended from the sky. It was the avenging light of the Death God, a watered-down version of the light of the Death God. It clashed ferociously with the dragon flames that were in pursuit of Yi Shishui. It wasn't that Yi Shishui wasn't willing to fully unleash her light of the Death God. It was just that she needed some time to accumulate her strength before she could unleash the complete version of her light of the Death God. The last time she did so, she went through prior planning first. This avenging light of the Death God was unleashed through some kind of special method after greatly compressing avenging spirits. It was very powerful, but it used up thousands of avenging spirits every time it was unleashed. There weren't just 100,000 avenging spirits that were gathered within this Death God Pagoda. However, they were very limited. Every time it was unleashed, they had to be replenished. What Hu Yuhao didn't know was that there were many avenging spirits in this Death God Pagoda that were collected by Yi Shishui after he initiated the massive explosion in Radiant City. This also aided in the completion of the Death God Pagoda, allowing it to cross the barrier that made it a Class 10 soul tool. In this world, there wasn't just a single genius. Hu Yuhao was one, but Yi Shishui was also another one. She had started to research soul tools in the Sun Moon Empire after her disappointing relationship with Mu En. After years of research, she gradually fused her evil soul master abilities and soul tools, creating a unique soul tool that belonged only to her. With her immense power as a foundation and the Holy Ghost Church as a backer, she finally became the strongest soul engineer in the Sun Moon Empire and the Death God Dolor. At the same time, she was also the supreme leader of the Holy Ghost Church. After Shu Qianran ascended to the throne, he even accepted her as his godmother. The current leader of the Holy Ghost Church, Zhong Liwu, was Yi Shishui's son. It could be argued that she was actually the most powerful person in the Sun Moon Empire. A huge explosive force was released as the black dragon flames and the avenging light of the Death God clashed. The entire mountain was flattened. The Death God Pagoda actually rose into the air and turned into a beam of red light that shot forward in the direction of the Sun Moon Empire. At the same time, a beam of blood-red light shot into the sky and turned into a weird image. From afar, the formation of soul tools that the Sun Moon Empire had deployed started to reverberate with booms. The title Dolor from the Star Luo Empire had already achieved what they wanted. Following this, beams of golden light rose into the sky. It was the signal for the army to come. Hu Yuhao silently drifted above the mountain and watched as the Death God Pagoda escaped. He didn't pursue. The beast god was drifting beside him. He furrowed his brow as he looked at Hu Yuhao. Di Qian was a little displeased as he said, "You actually riled up such a strong enemy. If I didn't appear in my true form, I don't think she would have left." Hu Yuhao seemed to have returned to normal and calmly said, "You've already cost me 2 opportunities to advance to the future. Don't you think you should help me at such a critical moment? Moreover, from the perspective of the world of soul beasts, it's not advantageous if the human world is ruled by the Sun Moon Empire. When that happens, all of you will only become experimental subjects of the Sun Moon Empire. Once they find substitutes for soul rings that can replace soul beasts, it'll be the day that soul beasts vanish from the face of this world. This is why peace and balance between the various empires should be something that you want to see, am I right? Now that the Sun Moon Empire is so strong and the Heavenly Soul Empire is on the verge of destruction, the Sun Moon Empire would be very likely to rule the entire continent if we don't deal them a huge blow right now." After pondering for a moment, Di Qian said, "However, you can't face too strong of an opponent. If not for the fact that I had some kind of understanding of her the first time you suffered the attack of the avenging light of the Death God and intentionally dealt with her strategy, she wouldn't have been scared off. She's right. I can't possibly descend in my true form. I believe that she'll realize that she's been scared off by me after she returns and calms down. This woman is very strong. If not for the fact that she detached herself from the Death God Pagoda, I wouldn't have been confident of fighting her even with my true form if she relied on her Death God Pagoda to fight me." After hearing his words, Hu Yuhao was slightly stunned. Even the arrogant Di Qian was not confident of defeating Yi Shishui. How strong was she? With someone as strong as her, the Star Luo Empire would be unlikely to gain an advantage even if the Star Luo Empire faced her with a 100,000-man army. This time, you've lent me too much of your strength. Your body is already on the verge of collapse. Fortunately, there's a very strong life energy in your body which seems to come from the same source as the Lake of Life. This life energy has been helping you to recover quickly. However, don't face her again. Otherwise, I wouldn't even be confident of saving you. You only have one life. Your life might be important to us, but isn't it important to you too? Take precious care of your life and get as far away from the Death God as possible. The Beast God was very composed. He didn't react to Hu Yuhao's earlier reprimand. After he finished speaking, dim black light slowly turned into air currents, and he disappeared. Black air also engulfed Hu Yuhao and carried him to the top of the mountain. Slowly, the black disappeared, and Hu Yuhao looked very pale. Fresh blood flowed from all his pores. He only felt excruciating pain throughout his entire body before he lost consciousness. When the Star Luo Empire's title Doluo came to the top of the mountain, they only witnessed an astonishing scene. The height of the highest mountain peak in the Mingo mountain range must have had fallen by at least 100 meters. There was a huge depression at the top of the mountain, and this depression was filled with smaller craters. Even though the clash was already over, the entire mountain was still engulfed by strong soul power undulations. Occasionally, the cries of avenging spirits could be heard as well. Yuhao? Hu Sancha immediately spotted Hu Yuhao lying in the center of the huge depression, and rushed towards him. Everyone from Shrek Academy did the same. The earlier clash at the top of this mountain was too intense. They had no idea what had happened, but the Death God Pagoda had vanished at this moment. The Death God Doluo had also disappeared, and only Hu Yuhao remained. After the flashes of red light earlier, the soul engineers of the Sun Moon Empire quickly fled after being momentarily shocked. They left with whatever soul tools they could bring with them. Although more than 10 titled Doluo from the Star Luo Empire were here, their advantage in numbers didn't give them an advantage. A combined attack from many soul tools would still threaten them greatly. Seeing that their enemies had fled, they naturally didn't pursue them. Victory? If they had really achieved victory, it was a victory that belonged to the 20 of them. And amongst them, Hu Yuhao had played the most critical role. When all the titled Doluo witnessed the Death God Doluo's immense abilities, they were all shocked. They clearly knew that they couldn't overcome such a powerful enemy even with their numerical advantage. Moreover, Yi Shishui had the Death God Pagoda to rely on. If they continued fighting, they would have all been decimated. However, it was at that moment when Hu Yuhao's unexplained power managed to resist the Death God Doluo. They didn't witness the fighting process, but the final result did sort of indicate that Hu Yuhao hadn't lost. The Death God Doluo and Death God Pagoda had disappeared, and the Sun Moon Empire's soul engineers had retreated too. This meant that the Mingo mountain range had been won back. To the Star Luo Empire, this was extremely important. With the Mingo mountain range falling back into the hands of the Star Luo Empire, the Sun Moon Empire would find it very difficult to reclaim it again and re-invade the Star Luo Empire. Furthermore, the Sun Moon Empire lacked leadership right now. Now that the Star Luo Empire had overcome their first defensive line, it was time for them to make further headway. All the titled Doluo were excited right now, but everyone from Shrek Academy looked very serious. When they surrounded Hu Yuhao, they only saw how blood-soaked his clothes were. Blood was oozing from all his pores, and his aura had become very weak. They couldn't even sense any soul power undulations from him. Hu Sancha looked very serious and squatted down beside Hu Yuhao. He carefully placed his hand on his chest to sense Hu Yuhao's condition. After a brief moment, he furrowed his brow and stood up. "How is he, third senior?" Yi Dai asked anxiously. Tears were already forming in her eyes. Even though she had already suppressed her feelings for Hu Yuhao, she still felt that she was about to experience an emotional outburst upon seeing that he was seriously wounded and on the verge of death. Hu Sancha solemnly replied, "Not good. Little Junior's life aura is very weak and his heartbeat is so slow it's almost undetectable. He might die at any moment." "Yuhao, Wake up. Yuhao Yigai squatted down beside Hu Yuhao and started sobbing as she pleaded for him to regain consciousness. Ji Juechen also furrowed his brow. Is there no other way? Shu Sancha shook his head and said, I did a preliminary check on his condition, and it seems like all his passageways have been broken. They even seem to be seriously damaged. I don't even dare to touch him right now. Jing Ziyan was the calmest among all of them. She immediately turned around and faced all the titled Duluos, asking, Elders, which one of you is adept at healing? Please take a look at Yuhao. He's in very bad condition. At this moment, all of the titled Doluo were jolted from their excitement and quickly surrounded Hu Yuhao. However, all of these titled Doluo that were chosen for this mission were adept at attacking. None of them was adept at healing. After checking Hu Yuhao's condition, all of them came to the same conclusion as Shu Sancha. Hu Yuhao was in very bad condition. All his passageways were seriously injured. If it was someone else with such serious injuries, he would have died. However, there was some kind of special force in his body that was helping him hang on. The circulation of his blood seemed to have stopped completely, apart from a small region around his heart. As for his soul power, it had long disappeared. At this moment, all the titled Doluo were helpless. The Shattered Star Doluo said, Yuhao's injury is very serious. Let's not touch him for now. Let's go and rendezvous with the army first. Giant Hammer, make a trip back and immediately ask the Marshal to send a healing-type Soul Master over. I'll stand guard here. All right. The Giant Hammer Doluo acknowledged his words and turned around before flying away. Hu Yuhao had made an important contribution this time by helping to reclaim the Mingo mountain range. Even these arrogant titled Doluo were in awe of him. They were also very shocked by the secret force in him that was keeping him alive. Even without saying anything, they knew that he had borrowed some kind of strength that didn't belong to him to fight the death god Doluo, scaring her away. His body was seriously wounded because he couldn't handle such great power in his body. All of the titled Doluo thought that it was no mean feat that Hu Yuhao could preserve his life. He was dealing with a powerful force that could resist an ultimate Doluo. Even titled Doluo like them weren't confident of remaining alive if they had to deal with such a powerful force. Tang Wutong also stood beside Hu Yuhao. She didn't wail as pitifully as Yi Gai. She only stood where she was, looking a little dazed. The scene of Hu Yuhao exchanging places with her when the light of death god descended on her earlier kept on repeating itself in her mind. She kept on asking herself this question, if it were me, would I be capable of doing the same thing? Hu Yuhao. Tang Wutong knew that this name had been permanently imprinted in her mind right now. The healing-type Soul Master team arrived at almost the same time as the Soul Master Legion that was here to reclaim the mountain range. Everyone was shocked that the White Tiger Duke had personally come, and even brought along a healing-type titled Doluo. There were also about 16 other healing-type Soul Masters with them. Where's Yuhao? The White Tiger Duke led this large group of healing-type Soul Masters as they descended from the sky. The first thing he asked when he landed was Hu Yuhao's location. The Shattered Star Doluo's expression changed when he saw that the White Tiger Duke was personally here. It was important to know that the White Tiger Duke was very crucial to the Star Luo Empire's military. If the Death God Doluo returned, they would be unable to protect him at all. Duke, you. The White Tiger Duke lifted his hand and stopped the Shattered Star Doluo from speaking any further. Of course he understood what the Shattered Star Doluo meant. He said, it's more important to save this life first. We can leave the rest for later. Shu Sancha, Jiang Nan, and the rest quickly came up to receive him. The White Tiger Duke led the healing-type Soul Masters to Hu Yuhao under their guidance. The healing-type titled Doluo was an elder with white hair and a wrinkled face. It was impossible to tell her actual age. When she arrived in front of Hu Yuhao, she lifted her right hand and a streak of dim green light instantly turned into a barrier of light that engulfed him. Duke, you must save Yuhao. Shu Sanchi's voice started to tremble slightly. Don't worry, I'll try my best. Yuhao is a great servant to our empire. The White Tiger Duke said without any hesitation. Earlier, he could only see the explosions of light that had blossomed from the top of the mountain. When they first started, he started to tense up. Without a doubt, Hu Yuhao had already been discovered. Being discovered was an unavoidable consequence of the plan. The key lay in whether Hu Yuhao was able to free all the title Dolor after being discovered. Therefore, the most important thing to take note of was the amount of time the explosions lasted for. Hu Yuhao didn't disappoint him. The lights didn't disappear, and even larger explosions ensued. At that point, the White Tiger Duke was already ready to command his entire military to fight. After that, the White Tiger Duke saw terrifying red light flashing at the top of the mountain. The black light that Hu Yuhao had released wasn't very clear against the night sky. However, the White Tiger Duke was astonished when he saw that the mountain had collapsed slightly. Hu Yuhao had succeeded. Even without any signal, the White Tiger Duke had already given the order to attack. The giant hammer Doluo returned not long after that, and relayed news that Hu Yuhao had been seriously wounded. For some unknown reason, the White Tiger Duke felt his heart constricting after learning that Hu Yuhao had been seriously hurt. He ignored Princess Jiujio's attempt to stop him and personally led a team of healing-type soul masters to save him. He only had one thought in his mind: save Hu Yuhao at all costs. Such a talent was simply too important to the Star Luo Empire. Besides his desire to save a generational talent, the White Tiger Duke didn't realize that deep down in his heart, there was some kind of unexplained attachment that was growing. Even he himself wasn't clear what it was. His concern for Hu Yuhao had already surpassed the sort of brotherly love he had for his own subordinates. Yi Gai clenched her fists tightly and prayed to herself. Nan Chuchio also clasped her hands together in front of her chest, and was reciting something to herself. The White Tiger Duke softly said, "Yuhao will be fine. Don't worry. This person performing the healing on Yuhao is the Hallmaster of the Star Luo Empire's Imperial Shrine. She's a titled Dolor. As long as someone is still breathing, she can save him. Perhaps all of you have heard of her before. Her name is Wang Xiana." After hearing the words, Wang Xiana, Shu Sancha was the first to react. His body shook a little before there was a surprised look on his face. He probed, "Are you talking about the immortal Dr. Dolor Wang Xiana?" The White Tiger Duke nodded gently. Shu Sancha heaved a huge sigh of relief and explained to the rest, "Elder Wang Xiana is the world's top healing-type soul master. Even Elder Zhuang from our academy is inferior to Elder Wang. Elder Zhuang even mentioned that Elder Wang is the world's strongest healing-type soul master. Her martial soul is the healing angel." Healing-type and food-type soul masters found it more difficult to become titled Doluo compared to assault-type soul masters. This was because fighting helped to stimulate the potential of soul masters, but healing-type and food-type soul masters hardly fought. They could only rely on cultivation and the accumulation of experience to slowly improve. As a result, there were only a few of them who could become titled Doluo. As for Transcendent Doluo, there were hardly any of them who made it. This immortal Dr. Doluo Wang Xiana was one of these rare healing-type Transcendent Doluo. She was probably the most important trump card of the entire Star Luo Empire, and the Hallmaster of the Star Luo Empire's Imperial Shrine. She was only inferior to another Transcendent Doluo who was the strongest individual in the Star Luo Empire. If even this miracle healer couldn't save Hu Yuhao, it meant that Hu Yuhao was really going to die. This was why Shu Sancha heaved a sigh of relief when he found out that she was the immortal Dr. Doluo. He had known Hu Yuhao for a long time now. He knew that Hu Yuhao's survival abilities were shocking, and he had managed to escape death many times. In terms of survivability, he was definitely the best among the members of Shrek's 7 monsters. Right now, it was almost impossible for him to die, since the immortal Dr. Doluo was around. The green light in Wang Xiana's hand slowly retracted, and she furrowed her brow slightly. The wrinkles on her face also became more evident. This little fellow's injuries are very weird. Weird? After hearing her words, everyone from Shrek Academy started to become worried. Tang Wutong immediately asked, "What's weird?" She replied, "His passageways are almost broken, especially his main passageways. His injuries are extremely serious. If I'm not wrong, There must be some kind of immense force that surged through his entire body that caused his passageways to burst. Logically speaking, his flesh should have blown apart under such conditions. There should be no way for him to still be alive. However, I'm shocked by the fact that his main organs are still fine even though his passageways are so seriously hurt. More surprisingly, his damaged passageways are all only temporarily blocked. His blood is not flowing, but stuck within these passageways. Furthermore, there's very strong life energy in his damaged passageways. They seem to be recovering on their own. It's something that I've never seen or heard of before. I think he possesses extraordinary life energy which enables him to experience something like this. In addition, there's some kind of force protecting his body. The White Tiger Duke hurriedly asked, "What should we do then? How can we heal him?" The immortal Dr. Doluo shook her head and said, "There's no need to heal him." "What?" everyone exclaimed at the same time. The immortal Dr. Doluo said that there wasn't any need to heal him. Didn't this mean that Hu Yuhao was doomed? The immortal Dr. Doluo gestured and said, "Don't misunderstand. What I mean is that he should be able to recover, but he'll need some time. I'll stimulate some of his life energy and try to pour in some life energy into his body. This will increase the speed of his recovery. That'll be enough. We don't have to overtreat him. At times, overtreating can cause unnecessary damage to a body. Since his self-healing abilities are already so strong, we'll just let him heal. That'll be the most beneficial to him." After hearing Wang Xiana's explanation, everyone present heaved a sigh of relief. The White Tiger Duke respectfully said, "I'll need to trouble you then." Wang Xiana's eyes flashed and turned jade green. The jade green color in her eyes gave everyone a very bright and lively feeling. Following this, the immortal Dr. Doluo's body started to experience weird changes. Multiple pairs of wings started to open up behind her back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There were actually 5 pairs of wings that appeared. They were all jade green too. They resembled those of Bai Ji. However, the immortal Dr. Doluo's wings were smaller than Bai Ji's wings, though there were more of them. After the appearance of each pair of wings, the life energy in the air became evidently more concentrated. After they had all appeared, the entire top of the mountain was like an ocean of life. Everyone felt abnormally relaxed and comfortable right now. The immortal Dr. Doluo was a national treasure of the Star Luo Empire. Who could ensure that one wasn't ever hurt or never ever fell ill? She was like a goddess to the Star Luo Empire. Something strange occurred to the immortal Dr. Doluo's body. Every time a pair of wings appeared behind her, she would look younger and younger. When the 5th pair of wings appeared, she already looked as young as an 18 or 19-year-old teenager. Her eyes were bright and captivating. She possessed a beauty that was filled with life aura. Everyone felt a sense of amiability when they looked at her, and couldn't help but get closer to her. She lifted her right hand and mimicked a pressing action in Hu Yuhao's direction. Suddenly, intense green light started to gather towards Hu Yuhao's body. Hu Yuhao's body slowly lit up. Spots of green light shone, and a gentle life aura cleansed his entire body, removing all the impurities that were still within. Streaks of black air current slowly drifted out from his body before dissipating. Hu Yuhao's body also slowly lit up with green. Evidently, he was absorbing the life aura that the immortal Dr. Doluo had exuded. Under the effect of that concentrated life energy, Hu Yuhao's own aura started to appear. His chest could also be seen rising. The young version of the immortal Dr. Doluo revealed a slight grin on her face. Right now, she was in the form of her healing angel. She kept on pouring life energy into his body, stimulating his potential. Such a healing method tackled the symptoms and root cause of the problem, which was the most advanced healing technique. It was even more effective when used by the immortal Dr. Doluo. Suddenly, Hu Yuhao's forehead lit up. A streak of jade-green light suddenly appeared and slowly cracked open on his forehead. It was his Eye of Destiny. It was just that his Eye of Destiny was completely jade-green right now. When that jade-green light appeared, Hu Yuhao's body suddenly turned into a huge jade-green whirlpool, and devoured all the life aura that the immortal Dr. Doluo released. Wang Xiana was also shocked. It is very abnormal for a soul sage to devour life energy at such a speed. What's going on? Is it that source of power that's protecting his body? Although she was shocked, she still increased the output of her life energy. She was different from ordinary soul masters. Every human and soul master had their own life energy. Once they drained too much of it, they would experience decline, and might even die as a result. However, the immortal Dr. Doluo possessed strength that could control life. She could filter life energy from the air to complete her healing. The more prosperous the life energy in at a place, the greater her powers. For example, her healing abilities would be on another level if she were in the Great Star Do Forest. If she could reach the Lake of Life where Di Qian was, her healing abilities would be at the tier of an ultimate Doluo. After sensing the changes to Hu Yuhao's body, she poured more soul power into his body. All types of life aura and elements at the top of the mountain were all infused into Hu Yuhao's body. Wang Xiana was observing Hu Yuhao's changes throughout this process. She discovered that his passageways were evidently healing faster after the jade green light appeared on his forehead. It wasn't just his passageways, every part of his body was healing rapidly. Most of the life energy actually came from his own body. Although he had absorbed a lot of life energy too, the life energy that he absorbed wasn't as pure as his own life energy. It was as if it went through a filtering process before it managed to completely fuse with his body. The soul power of a transcendent Doluo was already very dense. While Hu Yuhao was devouring her life energy very quickly, she was also rapidly gathering life energy from the air. From afar, it was clear that a huge green whirlpool had appeared at the top of the mountain. The life energy surrounding the entire mountain range was rapidly being absorbed before fusing with Hu Yuhao's body. The jade green light that Hu Yuhao's body emanated also became stronger and stronger. At the start, it was only shining from his eye of destiny, but it slowly spread to the rest of his body. Under the effect of the immense life energy, he evidently experienced a drastic change in his condition. At least his breathing became more normal and stable. Wang Xiana nodded silently. It was also her first time seeing a case like this. She quietly memorized the changes to Hu Yuhao's body. This was like a brand new experience to her. Suddenly, Hu Yuhao's body experienced changes again. He unleashed a beam of intense jade green light from his body. This beam of jade green light rapidly fused with the whirlpool and caused it to stop. After this, it started to flow in the opposite direction. Immense life energy started to pour into Wang Xiana's body. Wang Xiana was stunned for a moment first. After this, she sensed the benefits of this immense life energy. Just like she had felt before, the life energy coming from Hu Yuhao's body was extremely pure. There wasn't any form of impurity within it. It was much purer than even her own soul power. This video will end here.